Can everyone hear me all the way back to the food at the back of the garden? Welcome. Continue to get food, continue to get beer as you wish. Settle in wherever you care to. I'm Tim Penny, president of the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. We are delighted to have all of you here today with us in New Ulm. Instead of an annual luncheon, which had been our habit for 30-some years, a few years ago we decided to take it on the road and do what we're calling Sprout events, where we can come closer to folks at the end of the day, so it's easier for all sorts of folks to attend that might not be able to attend a luncheon in the middle of the day, just to help celebrate our partnership here in the region in so many ways. Our motto at the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation is collaborating for regional vitality, and in all of our areas of work, early childhood, entrepreneurship, and small town projects, we do our best to partner up and collaborate with others that are working on those same issues. We're delighted to be here at Shell's Brewery today, and you couldn't ask for a nicer day to be sitting out here in their garden. And I want to thank specifically Ted Marty for donating the space for us to meet today, so they are one of our sponsors. And Ted, since your museum was also the very first grant that our foundation made some 30 years ago, maybe you can just come up and say a couple words before we move on with the program. Help me welcome Ted to the microphone.
Yeah, Tim did mention that it was my brother and I, George, and his wife Paula, had started a little music thing back right here where you're sitting, only it was grass and a lot different than it is now. But we did start that museum, and we got a grant from Mr. Penny here, and it turned into obviously a much bigger facility, and we're thankful for that, and welcome everybody. So.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks for hosting us. In addition to Shell's, I want to recognize some of our other sponsors, Home Federal, the Nuger Company, Engage, Revocity, and I see some Revocity people here, the Black Ridge Group at Morgan Stanley that helps us with our investment funds, U.S. Bank, and one of their executives is here at the back of the room. He's also on our board of directors. And then Clifton Larson Allen, and I saw some of those folks walk in. I also want to acknowledge that we've got a good history of New Ulm leaders that have been on our board of directors. Denny Warder right here in front of me, Colleen Skillings, who I saw just a few minutes ago, Andy Beeble with Clifton Larson Allen has been on our board, and currently we have Carissa Biegler on our board, and she's going to handle the conversation. And when I mentioned collaborating for regional vitality, the conversation with her partners here at the front of the stage will help kind of give you a sense of the way our foundation tries to work with others in this region on issues important to early childhood, entrepreneurship, and economic and small town growth. With that, I promised that I would keep this short, and when you are a former politician as I am, you learn to give the same speech in 5, 15, and 50-minute increments. So my goal tonight was to stick pretty close to that 5-minute level. So the only thing I want to do before I turn it over to Carissa is to ask any other board members that are here tonight to show their hands so we can recognize the people that are currently leading the board. And I also want any of our staff people, some of them are here, some will be at next week's event in Dundas, some will be at the next week's event in Winona. So we kind of split them up, but these are all folks that you should be visiting with one-on-one when there's a time for mingling. And you can talk to them about anything that's going on at the foundation, what's going on in your community, and how we can partner and collaborate going forward. So staff members, wave your hands so we see where all of you are. So with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Carissa. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Tim. Well, welcome to my hometown. It is awesome to have all of you here, especially those of you who traveled. I was actually born and raised here in New Ulm, and my ancestors actually helped found New Ulm as well. So I clearly love this place, moved back after college, and my husband and I are now raising our 2 boys here, that this town and community has given us so many opportunities. When I think about giving back to my community or wanting New Ulm to thrive, before I joined the SMIF board, I'll have to say that I was all about supporting New Ulm and what could I do to help my hometown community thrive. And what SMIF has brought me to believe and understand is that we can't survive or thrive on our own. We need to collaborate as best as possible with the other small towns in this region or other metropolitan areas, even as well. So it was just fun listening to Joe and Paul talk about economic development earlier and what each of our communities that we're 30 miles away, but have a lot of similarities in how we can support each other and not stand alone in that. So really exciting. So our hope tonight is that you make connections with our staff members. We have ambassadors that I'll introduce you to in a little bit as well, but also to hear stories about impact that you as donors or if you've received a grant, to hear the stories of how change is happening in this part of the state of Minnesota. And maybe you'll walk away, or hope you'll walk away with at least 1 or 2 ideas that you can take back to follow through on. An idea of a program you could start in your community, or maybe there's already something that you have in mind that you want to make a change in the community that you're representing and how SMIF can be a partner, or there's maybe a partner here tonight who can help you with that. So first we're going to start hearing from a few of our grant recipients and programs. About 25 years ago, Betty and I realized today, Betty and I met, and Betty in our area is known as the early childhood leader. Yep, right, Janessa? That's yeah. She has been working in the same profession all that time and really being an advocate for children and programming and funding, and been a great partner to SMIF as well. So Betty's currently the director of our ECFE program here through our New Ulm Public Schools. She's received various early childhood and early literacy grants over the years and has been a host site for SMIF's AmeriCorps LEAP initiative program, which is focused on social emotional development. And she and her colleagues have attended many of SMIF trainings that support professional development for early childhood professionals. They're also one of SMIF's early childhood initiative communities, which works on different initiatives to support young children and their families. So Betty, if you want to come forward, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the grants through SMIF have impacted your programs and thus the children you're trying to impact?
Okay. I wrote notes because
There we go.
I have some notes because there are so many different ways that SMIF has benefited the children in Brown County that I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. So Brown County was fortunate to be selected as an early childhood initiative site in the spring of 2006. And I can't even think of where to begin describing how this partnership has touched so many of our youngest citizens. Our initial mission was to bring Brown County community together to connect children, families, and resources in support of the development of our youngest children. There have been so many projects that have been accomplished over the years, and some of these projects are still going on 16 years later. Projects like the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten in cooperation with the public libraries, our Red Bookshelves in cooperation with Healthy Communities, Healthy Youth, that parent education classes such as Love and Logic and Positive Parenting, and family events, which encourage families to spend that quality family time together. The SMIF funds have allowed us to build really strong relationships with the child care providers throughout Brown County. Through grants, we've been able to conduct series of visits right to the child care providers' homes, where we bring them the high quality early learning materials that they can keep. We show them how to use the materials, and from hearing from them afterwards, they continue using those materials for many years to come. So just those visits and the gifts have made a permanent change in their programs. The materials are everything from focusing on literacy, social, emotional, math skills, just everything to help get students ready to enter kindergarten, ready to succeed. SMIF has provided us with some high quality staff development trainings over the years. Our ability to attend SMART, Stimulating Maturity Through Accelerated Readiness Training, along with a couple of years of mentoring, has ingrained this amazing program into just a core component of our preschool classes. It's so exciting to see that how the program is now expanding with childcare providers and smart steps. Conscious discipline training was a game changer for us. This social emotional workshop provided a foundation which we found that all other social emotional trainings are really built on. Once again, it became a core part of our preschool classrooms. And then access to the video series through Conscious Discipline has allowed that our staff to attend to watch it together during staff workshop days so that our whole team is on the same page. We can't thank SMIF enough for the over 5,000 books that we've received through the literacy programs since 2009. In 2015, we received an Early Childhood Dental Network grant through the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. At that time, through early childhood screening, the parent survey showed that 58% of the children were seeing a dentist before they entered kindergarten. Our data this year showed that now 78% of children are seeing a dentist before they enter kindergarten. And 60% of those children actually saw a dentist before their 3rd birthday, which is just a huge impact for the children that we serve. The Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation has provided so many opportunities for the youngest members of our community and the adults who work with them. I can't thank the foundation enough for making a huge, long-lasting difference in the lives of our youngest children. Thank you.
Well, clearly when you have an advocate like Betty, who is willing to write the grants and put in the work and bring the ideas forward and bring her team together to advocate for children. So Betty, thank you for all that you do for our community and the region to inspire others to put forth some energy and time and focus into our youngest members of our community. Our next speaker is Nicole Brunswick. Nicole is the Executive Director of the Region 9 Development Commission, which promotes the development of the 9 counties in our region, which is also SMIF's region, including Brown County that you're in tonight, through intergovernmental cooperation, community and human development, long-range planning, and technical assistance. Region 9 has received many grants through the years and has also served as a partner in many SMIF programs, including the Prosperity Initiative, which supports minority-owned business growth, and the Rural Entrepreneurial Venture, or the REV program, which we have one of those here tonight with us as well, which supports long-term economic development for small communities. I gotta say, since I've been on SMIF, we rarely have a board meeting where we don't talk about Region 9 and what a great collaborative partner they are to SMIF. So grateful for that. So Nicole, if you wanna come forward, how have the grants and partnerships with SMIF supported the economic growth of our region?
All right, that's a long question. But before I get to it, I have to make a kind of a Brown County, New Ulm. This is my second home, so it's just about, it'll be a decade since my OMA has now passed, but the Region 9 team got a little bit of Brown County history on the drive over in Nicollet County. My ancestors, back to kind of, as you were also referencing, my OMA was a Klossner, and so the metropolis of Gloucester. My ancestors right there. So, there you have it. And I was explaining the Protestant and Catholic, trying to explain that on the drive over, and I said the city of St. Charles exists because my ancestors in Klossner said, Protestant church you want to have land for? No, Catholic. Anyway, so, very, very interesting history. But no, I really do love New Ulm. It is really my second home. I don't get over here very much now that my OMA has passed, but I also am, my mom was a Lipke, and so I have some uncles in town, famous and infamous, so forgive me for my relatives. But back to the question at hand here. I didn't really even know where even to start when talking about the impact of SMIF. So I don't want to make it a laundry list, but just to kind of give you an idea, our mission sounds rather boring when you read it out loud, but Region 9, we partner with SMIF on so many things. The word collaboration is almost like a buzzword if we say it too much. But over the years, we've had numerous revolving loan funds that we have shared the risk on and been able to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs to be successful. Next Wednesday, my team and I and 52 of our closest friends will be back in town at Black Frost Distillery, as they're one of our most recent loan clients, so to give you a little for instance. But other than loans, we are part of the Prosperity Initiative, which I know you've been hearing about, as well as the Rural Entrepreneur Venture, REV. But some of the other initiatives I wanted to mention, though, is we've actually had AmeriCorps Vista, where we actually shared as we had staff together. So, I mean, you talk about innovative ideas going, I don't know if we have a full-time staff, do you have a full-time staff? And so what I really appreciate about SMIF is the flexibility, and we can call them up and say, here's what we think we want to do, and here's what your grant says. Would it work if we, and so just to be able to have foundations and philanthropy, able to have those conversations and work through and talk about, here's what this community wants to do with this kind of work, and or just simply promoting the events that you already have going on. You know, paint the town, like how cool. You can go to any community in the 20 county region and probably see a mural and or something downtown that has been impacted by SMIF, whether it's a welcome to name whatever town sign coming in. The impact is just tremendous. But I would be remiss if, while this isn't exactly a grant that was awarded to Region 9 per se, most of you will all remember the fire in downtown Medelia. I can't not mention that. When I think about SMIF and what we've done together, if I was an emotional person, I'd probably get teary, but if you want to talk about economic development and how SMIF has a focus and how working together, you know, Tim and I, we were like on speed dial back and forth. It was like, okay, I got this money from that grant. If we can get it from that foundation, what if we could do if we did this many loans, at this many, I mean, just to go back and forth talking about it. Go to Medelia. If you haven't been there lately, the downtown, you hear a narrative about small towns. Cities are 2,000 in size or so. Oh, you know, downtowns are dying. Not in Medelia. Try to find a parking space on a Friday night. Try to go to a movie, and I mean, and so I know we're in the neighboring county, but Medelia is probably, has to be one of my favorite projects that we've done together, as Tim would say, hand in glove, and that was some of the most meaningful work I know that I've done in my career, and again, it's just been 10 years since I've been with Region 9, and it's just been fantastic. So again, whether it's sharing an employee, doing the loans together and sharing that risk, helping promote each other's projects and initiatives and everything else we have going on, it's just been fabulous. And I think Medelia, their downtown, would not be what it is without SMIF, period. It just wouldn't. Tim and I have been able to use our positions as leadership of economic development entities to be on different boards together and to make sure rural has a voice. So many times, I'll speak for Tim. I've got the microphone, so he can't correct me. We're at meetings in St. Paul and whatnot. People are talking about this and that. And we're like, that won't work in rural. Like, but wait a minute, you know. And so even driving over here, not on Highway 14, I was telling my team, and I'm probably going to get over my time limit. Sorry. About a speech class I took in 2003 at MSU and how I wanted to talk about Highway 14 expansion, because one of my girlfriends from growing up, she and her husband were killed in a head-on collision 10 years ago, in 2003, and since then I was like, I want to do my speech on the importance of Highway 14. Well, then fast forward into my professional career, being at every Highway 14 meeting in Owatonna and all of those partnerships, and then now to not be able to take the road because it's under construction. How fantastic. And so again, that's hard to measure, that economic impact, but even all of the different initiatives, I know, sorry we're using the word so much, but all of the reasons why sometimes Tim and I aren't with our teams or out in the communities is we're at events like that. And it's really important to make sure people know what does rural need. Broadband expansion, we don't have to talk about nearly as much anymore because we've seen the progress. And so, again, my time is ending. And so, but I did ask the rest of my team, though, before I end, I said, you know, what are your thoughts on SMIF? And, you know, what should I say? And I want to make sure, you know, I was asked yesterday to do this, so what should I say? And a couple of the teams said, I don't really know him yet, but Maddie's great. And oh, I was in a couple meetings with Pam. I love her. But it speaks to the collaboration that our teams have back and forth and the quality talent that Tim and Pam have on their team. And so I just can't thank them enough. And I'll close with my one little trivia fact that I don't normally share. But speaking of my Alma from Klossner, in 1983, we'll look at my fellow historian in the room, Whoopi John had a polka song called Don't Take My Toot Toot Away. So my whole childhood with my Oma, my nickname was Toot Toot. You know you're German when your nickname's after a polka song. So, and also I did say when they asked me to speak at this event, I said, June 7th? I'm like, that's my birthday. I don't want to do any work. And I was like, for SMIF I will. So that's how much I love SMIF, is I'm here tonight. So thank you very much.
maybe. Yeah, I think we need to sing happy birthday to Toot Toot. You know, this is an area known for nicknames, and I don't know, a lot of family and friends, every whoopee, I mean, it's very, very common, so, and very endearing that you were given one. Yeah. Oh, yes. So thank you, Nicole, for sharing that and the collaboration that your organization has had with SMIF, and frankly, your advocacy for our area. We are grateful for that. All right, we have one more, and our last speaker is Pat Branstad. Pat is from St. James. She's a member of an organization called Uniting Cultures, or Uniendo Culturas. It's based in St. James, and I was just there the other night with my son, was playing a baseball game, and I gotta say, just going through St. James, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about what you have done in your community, because I could feel it. There was examples of how I could see of how the community was coming together as one. So I'm excited to hear from you tonight. United Cultures is based in St. James and working to create spaces to unite people and to remove barriers to equal opportunity and responsibility in the community. The group has received several small town grants from SMIF to help this initiative grow. And as you're listening to Pat, just a little small town grant program is actually open, accepting grant applications through June 23rd. So feel free to ask staff about it or ask Pat about how she used that grant in more detail in her community. So Pat, if you want to come forward, tell us about your grant and what you've been up to.
Thank you, Carissa. It's so much fun listening to all the German stuff. Not only am I an Oma myself, but I was a German instructor for many, many years and used to bring students to New Ulm and do a little bit of a tour, and then we needed to always talk about how, yes, but not all parts of Germany are just like New Ulm, so, but there are some similarities there. My conversation with you tonight is about our organization called United Cultures. This is a group that formed rather organically in 2017. We participated as a community in an event that was actually sponsored by the YWCA called It's Time to Talk, a forum on race. And with 80 to 100 people in the room, sitting at tables, talking about their experiences of race when they first recognized that and realized that, started some wonderful, wonderful conversations, and people didn't want to stop. It's like, this was great, let's keep going. And so the people who were interested gathered together throughout that summer, got together and brainstormed, what can we do? How can we build bridges in this community? St. James, if you're not familiar, experienced a change in the population demographics over the last 40 years. A community that was basically people that were descendants of Northern European settlers, and now has, because of the labor shortage, we had an increase of people coming to the community to work, and these were people who were primarily Spanish-speaking people. The population has changed to a place that we now have between 35 and 40% of our population who identify as non-white, primarily Latino. And you know, this didn't happen overnight. As the community was growing, I stepped back after this conversation on race, and I thought, I used to say, I know everybody in town. I know who's related to whom, right? And I realized, no, I know half of the community. And realized that our community had been, you know, we had about 2 basic communities that were coexisting in parallel universes. Not a lot of interaction, not resentment or contentious things generally, but not really together. And that was the sense of many of the people who were at this conversation. And so as we met together, it's like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? And we came up with all sorts of brainstormed ideas. And then we said, yeah, how are we going to do this? And that's when we learned about the small town grants. And that provided the seed money for us to put our programming into place. Our emphasis in the first year was on education education of ourselves and education in the community about the diversity of the ethnic backgrounds and the cultural heritage. And not just Latino white, but diversity within our Latino population as well. So much learning, and we've learned a lot, but boy, there's a lot more to happen yet. Along with that education piece, it was like, let's acknowledge this diversity of our cultural and ethnic background. And one of the big things that we were able to do that has become now an iconic annual event for us, and what would not have been possible without the funding from SMIF, was our Multicultural Fiesta. And it was an opportunity for us to highlight and showcase the various cultural and ethnic backgrounds of the people in our community. And one of my dear friends, and you'll see her on some of the little signs on your table, Marta, said, for the first time in 25 years, I have felt like a member of this community. She's from El Salvador, and she was able to sell her pupusas at our festival. We had ethnic performers, music performers, and we also had ethnic cuisine. People came together and were dancing together, trying the pupusas. A delightful older couple who came from Mexico about 25 years ago were watching the people, the ladies from First Lutheran Church, dressed in their Norwegian garb, grilling lefse. And they were watching and said, are they making tortillas? And I said, well, kind of, sort of, yeah, you'll have to try it. And so they were doing samples, and they put the brown sugar and the butter and the sugar on it, and it's like, this is pretty good. And so the cultural awareness was happening. It was a two-way street. Without SMIF's money, without that small town grant, we would not have been able to continue our educational programs. We had something called Culture Through Cuisine, where we highlighted 4 different ethnic and cultural heritage events where people prepared food together, ate food together, and shared stories about their immigration. That started bringing people together. Now the question was inclusion. Inclusion's deeper. Inclusion is not just seeing people, not just inviting them to come to the table, but actually listening to their voices. And so our work now with Uniting Cultures is to continue to do the education, continue to acknowledge and highlight and showcase the wonderful gifts that the diverse community has to offer, but also now to go to that step of making sure that we are providing access and opportunity for people to not only use their voices, but to have their voices heard and to engage them in the community. Marta had said, for the first time I feel included. She went on to say, and when I feel included, I feel like I want to contribute. And so if we're talking about communities and small town communities, not just surviving, but thriving, we need to provide those opportunities for people to be part of that and to identify those things that help them thrive. SMIF has been able to provide us with that. During the COVID times, our eyes were a little bit more opened to the lack of access to devices and Wi-Fi for the online learning. And so we were able to have a small town grant to help us address those issues as well. There are lots and lots of things that we were able to do. I can't tell you about all of them right here because I feel people counting the hours. Not the hours. It's not been hours, has it? But I would be happy to visit with you about some of the things we're doing. I'd love to hear about things that are happening in your communities. And we'll be looking at the SMIF Small Town Grant. Hopefully the deadline won't come too fast, but we have some plans. So thank you very much.
Now we know all of what's going on in St. James. That was awesome. Thank you. Oh, there's a mural. Yes. Was that? That was okay, but it was part of the initiative.
Story nationally, and it will
So there's a mural. So you need to drive to St. James, I guess, and you need to go see the mural that Pat and that group has put together. So what amazing stories. You couldn't have picked 3 better speakers to share how SMIF has impacted. But in addition, it takes leadership, and it takes all of us to take the step forward and to have the courage to try something new, or to bring people together, or to have harder conversations, or just be honest about where we want our community go and how we want to continue to support the members who are in that community. So thank you all 3 for sharing your stories tonight. There's a lot of other people in the crowd tonight who are also ready to tell you their stories of how SMIF has impacted them. If they are wearing one of these buttons, feel free to ask them. We have a Rev community. We have a historical society that just got a grant. There's a group of bankers over here. I'm sure that they've partnered with SMIF and one of their customers to help our entrepreneur bring a new business to a community, helping us fill our storefronts. We have our chamber president here as well. So anyone who's wearing those buttons, including the staff, which Tim also shared, please ask them about what SMIF, how partnering with SMIF has helped them fulfill a dream, or to bring something new into the community, or to create a new safe space for a new conversation. We also have lots of SMIF resources. So on your table, there's a few things in each of those baskets. There's a table over by that large, our logo right there. Feel free to grab some of those resources to find out more about what SMIF has to offer. And last but not least, SMIF is dependent on grants, donations, and support from communities, dependent upon volunteers. Whatever way you find meaningful to continue to support and make stories like this happen in each of our communities, and make this part of the state of Minnesota relevant and vibrant, we'd be grateful for you to consider whatever support, whether that be tonight or in the future or years from now. However you can partner with SMIF, we are grateful for that. On each of those seed packets, there's a QR code that takes you to our donate site and tells you a little bit more about how your donation can make an impact. So again, thank you to SMIF. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, Ted, for hosting us here on your grounds. Yes, Mr. Marty.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
German beer hall benches, you don't want to be the last one sitting on the end.
Okay. If you didn't hear that, for your safety, when you get up from the bench, please do it in a collaborative manner and make sure we all get up at the same time. Your table guests will thank you for that. Again, tonight is your night. Feel free to use the rest of the time to network. Take away a new idea that you can implement later. And when you're looking for a partner to implement that idea, feel free to call our SMIF staff and how we can help bring that dream to reality. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.